There are moments when life feels like a heavy burden. It's as if the weight of the world rests on your shoulders, and no matter how hard you try, you can't escape it. You feel lost, disconnected, as if the peace you once had has vanished, leaving you in a constant state of turmoil. Everything around you feels chaotic: relationships, work, health, and finances. It's easy to feel like you're drowning, like nothing is going to get better. You look for answers everywhere, but they seem just out of reach. In those moments of deepest struggle, it's hard to remember that there is a place of refuge, a space where the storms of life can be calmed. It's hard to believe that peace could actually be a reality again, especially when the pain feels so intense, when the hurt is so fresh. Meet Sarah. Sarah is like so many of us. She wakes up each day feeling the weight of her responsibilities, of the mistakes she's made, and the constant worry about the future. She tries to push through, but some days are harder than others. Her life is full of beautiful moments, but the struggle often overshadows the light. She finds herself looking for something, anything that could help her find rest for her weary soul. The loss of peace is like a slow-burning fire that consumes your strength, your joy, and your hope. Sarah knows that feeling all too well. She's been there. Maybe you've been there too. It's like you're stuck in a never-ending loop of frustration, anxiety, and doubt. You wonder if it's even possible to find relief, if peace can ever truly return. But what if I told you that there's a powerful secret, a promise that could change everything for you? What if there's a way to experience peace and rest, no matter how dark the circumstances? This isn't some fairy tale, nor is it a quick fix that promises you'll never face challenges again. It's deeper than that. There's a profound truth that offers real comfort to the soul. It's found in a timeless passage, a prayer that speaks directly to the heart of every person who's struggling, who's in pain, or who's feeling lost. That prayer is Psalm 91. Psalm 91 isn't just words on a page, it's a lifeline. It's a shelter for your soul when everything around you feels uncertain. It's a declaration of God's protection and His faithfulness, even when the storms are raging. Imagine for a moment being able to rest, to find peace in the midst of chaos. Imagine the weight of worry lifting off your shoulders. Imagine knowing that you are not alone, that someone is watching over you, protecting you, guiding you through the hardest moments of your life. In Psalm 91, it's written, "Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty." These words are more than just comforting. They are a powerful promise. They are a reminder that no matter what you face, there is always a safe place, a refuge where you can find peace. But this peace doesn't just come from wishing for it, or hoping that everything will magically improve. It comes from a deep trust in God's promises and the belief that He is with you every step of the way. The first step is acknowledging that you don't have to fight your battles alone. Sarah had to learn that. She had to stop carrying the weight of her struggles on her own and surrender them to a higher power, one that is bigger than anything she could ever face. And when she did, the heaviness began to lift. Her peace didn't come from the absence of problems, but from knowing she was not alone in them. Now, close your eyes for a moment and breathe deeply. Allow yourself to rest in this truth. You are not alone. There is a refuge for your soul, a place of peace that no storm can take away. Let's take a step together and enter into that space. Take a moment now, as we prepare to pray together, to open your heart to this peace, to trust in the power of Psalm 91, and to believe that no matter what you're facing, you can find rest. The journey we all take through life isn't always an easy one. Sometimes it feels like the weight of our burdens grows heavier as the days pass. It's as if no matter how hard we try to push through, the obstacles keep piling up. Stress at work, broken relationships, financial struggles. The constant pressure to be more and do more, it all adds up, creating a pressure that feels almost unbearable. But there's a crucial moment when everything changes. It's at the point when you realize that you, Dan T, have to carry these burdens alone anymore. Sarah found herself standing at that crossroads. She had carried the weight of her pain and fear for so long that it became a part of her identity. Every decision she made was tainted by doubt. She was constantly asking herself, am I enough? Why does everything feel so hard? One evening, while sitting in her living room, overwhelmed by the constant chatter of worries that filled her mind, she remembered something simple yet profound. She remembered the words of Psalm 91. She had heard them before, but this time they hit her differently. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. She sat there for a moment, letting those words wash over her, as if they were a fresh breath of air in a suffocating room. That was when the shift began. In that moment, Sarah felt something inside her begin to loosen. The grip of fear and anxiety that had held her captive for so long started to weaken. It wasn't an instant transformation, but something deep inside her began to shift. She had heard these words 1,000 times before, but this time, she chose to believe them. She chose to believe that there was a refuge waiting for her, a place where peace could be found, no matter what was happening around her. You see, Psalm 91 isn't just a comforting verse, it's a declaration of God's protective power. It's a reminder that no matter how chaotic life gets, you don't have to fight through it alone. There is someone watching over you, offering you rest and peace, even when the storms rage. Sarah began to understand that this was more than a verse to memorize, it was a truth to live by. The protection and care of God are not just for the times when everything is going right. No, they are there for the darkest moments, for the times when we feel completely lost and alone. The truth is, we all go through times of uncertainty and struggle. It's a part of being human, but it's also in these moments that we can choose to lean into God's promises, to trust that His shelter is real, and that He will protect us when we feel most vulnerable. Sarah made the choice to trust in this protection. She began to let go of the belief that she had to do everything on her own, that her peace depended on her ability to control every situation. As she continued to meditate on Psalm 91, she began to realize something else. Peace wasn't something that had to be earned. It was something that was freely given, a gift from God, waiting for anyone who was willing to receive it. She began to believe that she didn't have to earn peace through her efforts or successes. It was already hers, simply because she was choosing to rest in God's protection. What Sarah experienced that evening is something that each of us can have too. No matter what you are going through, there is a place of refuge for you. You don't have to carry the burden on your own. There's a promise of peace, a promise of protection, and a promise of rest. And it's not just for those who have everything together, but for anyone who is willing to let go and trust in something greater. Take a deep breath with me now. Imagine yourself in that place of shelter, resting in the shadow of the Almighty. Feel the weight of your burdens lifting, even just a little. Know that you are not alone in your struggle. This promise is for you. Whatever you're facing, you can find rest in His arms. In the next part, we'll dive even deeper into what it means to live under the protection of God and how you can experience His peace, even in the midst of chaos. It's time to let go of fear and embrace the refuge that has always been waiting for you. In life, we often find ourselves trying to control everything around us. We plan, we prepare, we work hard, hoping that if we do everything right, the storm will never come. But the truth is, storms are inevitable. They're a part of life. They come unexpectedly, and sometimes they hit harder than we ever imagined. Sarah had spent years trying to control her life, believing that if she could just manage everything perfectly, she wouldn't have to face these moments of doubt and fear. But no matter how hard she tried, life still threw its challenges her way. It felt like the harder she worked to keep everything together, the more fragile it became. It was during a particularly difficult time, when everything seemed to be falling apart, that Sarah found herself clinging to Psalm 91. She had read it before, but this time, it was different. This time, it spoke directly to her heart. It wasn't just comforting words anymore, it was a lifeline. A reminder that she didn't have to face this alone. She didn't have to have it all figured out. There was protection waiting for her, a shelter that was greater than anything she could provide for herself. The verse that struck her the most was, "He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge." It was such a simple and beautiful image, being covered by something so protective, so warm, so strong. In that moment, Sarah understood that she didn't have to be strong on her own. She didn't have to be the one holding everything together. There was a refuge, a place of safety, where she could rest. The idea of being covered by God's wings was more than just a poetic image. It was a promise that no matter how overwhelming the storm, there was a safe place to find peace. Sarah realized that she had been carrying the weight of everything on her own for so long because she didn't fully understand that she didn't have to. She didn't have to be the one keeping everything from falling apart. She didn't have to try to fix it all. This realization didn't happen overnight, but it started to change her perspective. Instead of fighting to control every aspect of her life, she began to trust more. She began to lean into God's promise of protection, knowing that His wings would cover her and give her rest. She started to understand that it wasn't about perfection or about doing everything right. It was about trusting in a refuge that would never fail her. You might be in a similar place. You might feel like you're constantly trying to manage your life, your relationships, your work, and your own emotions. The pressure of it all can feel unbearable, and sometimes you might wonder how much longer you can keep it together. But the truth is, you don't have to keep it all together on your own. You don't have to face everything alone. God's promise of shelter is available to you too. No matter how overwhelming your situation might seem, there is a refuge waiting for you. There's a place where you can find peace and rest in the midst of the storm. It doesn't matter if everything else around you feels chaotic. You can find calm in His presence. When Sarah started to lean into this truth, things didn't magically get easier right away. The challenges didn't disappear, but she began to see them differently. Instead of feeling consumed by the weight of her worries, she started to see them as temporary. She learned to trust that no matter how hard things got, she was never truly alone. She was always covered. The storm may rage on, but the shelter of God's wings is always there, offering protection and peace. As Sarah's perspective shifted, she began to experience a freedom she had never known before, the freedom to let go of control and rest in the shelter of the Almighty. And that's a freedom available to you too. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into how this refuge is not just a comforting thought, but a tangible reality that can transform your life. You don't have to wait for the storm to pass to find peace. You can experience it now, in the midst of it all. Stay with us as we continue this journey together. Sarah's life slowly began to shift in ways she never expected. There was a sense of peace that started to settle deep in her heart, not because everything had gotten better, but because she understood something crucial. Life would always have its ups and downs, its moments of pain and joy, but she no longer needed to face it with clenched fists and a constant sense of urgency. The weight of trying to control everything began to lift, and she realized that she didn't have to have all the answers. In her new journey of trusting in the promise of Psalm 91, she started to understand something even more profound. The shelter, the refuge, wasn't just about physical protection. It was also emotional and spiritual. It was about finding peace in the midst of uncertainty, strength in the middle of weakness, and hope when everything else seemed hopeless. It was about knowing that no matter what happened, there was always a greater plan unfolding, even when she couldn't see it. Sarah began to look back on her life, and she saw moments where she had tried to solve problems in her own strength. She thought about the times when she felt overwhelmed and exhausted, trying to make everything perfect. She remembered the days when she couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, when everything seemed too much to bear. But now, looking at those moments through the lens of Psalm 91, she saw something different. She saw the quiet presence of God in the midst of it all. Even in her darkest times, He had been there, covering her, offering His refuge. It was not a refuge from pain, but a refuge in the pain, a place where she could find peace even in the hardest moments. As she meditated on these thoughts, she was reminded of the verse that said, "You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday." This wasn't just a promise of physical safety. It was a reminder that fear doesn't have to control our lives. Fear doesn't have to dictate how we respond to the world around us. We don't have to live in constant anxiety about what could go wrong, because we have a refuge, a place where fear doesn't have the final say. For Sarah, that meant something transformative. She didn't have to be paralyzed by fear anymore. She didn't have to worry endlessly about things beyond her control. The fear that had once ruled her life slowly started to lose its power. As she learned to lean on God's promise, she realized that the most powerful weapon against fear was trust. Trust in the protection and care that had always been there for her, even in the hardest times. Trust that she didn't have to be afraid of what could happen, because she was already covered by something greater than herself. You might be in a place where fear is trying to take over. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed by the unknown, anxious about what tomorrow holds, or burdened by past hurts and disappointments. But I want you to know this: you don't have to fear. You don't have to carry that weight. There is a place of refuge waiting for you, a place where you can rest, knowing that you are protected, covered, and loved. Psalm 91 is a promise that goes beyond just surviving life's storms. It's a promise that you can thrive even in the midst of them. Fear may still try to come, but it no longer has to control you. You can stand firm, not because of your strength, but because of the refuge you've found in God. You don't have to walk in fear anymore. You can walk in peace, knowing that no matter what comes, you are covered. Sarah's journey of learning to trust God's protection wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Every day she grew a little stronger, a little more confident in the shelter she had found, and while life still had its challenges, she knew that no matter what happened, she was never alone. The promise of Psalm 91 was alive in her heart, and she walked forward with peace, knowing that she had a refuge in the midst of it all. In the next part, we'll explore how this refuge is not just for Sarah, it's for you too. You don't have to wait for the storm to pass to experience this peace. It's available now, and we'll talk more about how you can step into this peace no matter where you are in life. Stay with us as we continue this powerful journey. As Sarah continued her journey, she began to notice something profound happening in her life. The fear that once dominated her thoughts and decisions no longer held the same grip. It wasn't that the fear was gone entirely, it was still there, lurking in the background, whispering doubts and worst-case scenarios. But now, she had something stronger to combat it: peace. Peace, she realized, wasn't the absence of fear or chaos. Peace wasn't about everything in her life being perfect or controlled. It wasn't about waiting for all her problems to disappear. No, peace was a quiet assurance deep inside, and knowing that no matter how loud the storms around her became, there was a stillness that she could rely on. That stillness wasn't found in her own strength or efforts, it came from trusting in the promise of Psalm 91. From resting in the shelter of the Almighty. There were still moments of doubt. She wasn't immune to the struggles and uncertainties of life, but in those moments she remembered the shelter. She remembered the refuge that was always available, always there to protect and comfort her. And in those moments, she chose to lean into that truth instead of giving in to the fear. She chose to trust that no matter what the world threw at her, she was covered. Sarah began to understand that her refuge wasn't just about her own personal safety. It was about something bigger than herself. It was about knowing that her life was held in the hands of someone who cared deeply for her, someone who was with her through every moment, good or bad. It wasn't about escaping pain, but about learning how to face it with the peace that came from God's protection. She didn't need to fear the unknown, because she knew that the one who held her was greater than whatever could come her way. Psalm 91 spoke of being hidden in the secret place of the Most High. Sarah understood that this wasn't just a metaphor, it was a literal truth. In her heart, she had a secret place where she could rest, where she could be at peace, no matter what was happening around her. It was a place where God's presence enveloped her, and in that place, she found comfort and strength. As Sarah's trust deepened, She realized that the promises in Psalm 91 weren't just for moments of crisis, they were for every moment. Every single day there was an invitation to walk in the shelter of God's presence. Every day there was an opportunity to trust in His protection and to rest in His peace. It wasn't about waiting for a crisis to bring her closer to God. It was about recognizing that she could live in His shelter every day, no matter what was happening around her. Sarah started to see the beauty of this promise unfold in her life. It wasn't just about avoiding danger or hardship. It was about living with the assurance that no matter what happened, she wasn't alone. God's presence was with her, and in that presence she found peace that surpassed understanding. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed today. Maybe the storms around you seem too much to bear. But I want you to know this: there is a place of peace waiting for you. You don't have to wait for everything to settle down to find it. It's available to you right now, in the middle of whatever you're facing. The shelter of Psalm 91 is not just a place for when things go wrong. It's a place where you can thrive, where you can find peace no matter what life brings. You don't have to walk through life carrying the weight of fear and anxiety. You don't have to face it all on your own. There is a refuge available to you, a place where you can rest and be restored. All you need to do is trust, and that trust will bring you peace. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into how this peace can transform not just your circumstances, but your entire outlook on life. You'll discover how, even in the middle of hardship, you can still walk with confidence, knowing that the shelter of the Most High is your refuge. Stay with us as we continue to explore this incredible promise. As Sarah continued to walk in her newfound peace, something unexpected began to happen. The struggles she faced in life didn't seem as overwhelming as they once did. The challenges, although still present, no longer had the same power to break her. Her perspective was shifting, and she found herself facing the hard moments with a calm assurance that was beyond anything she had ever known. It was as if the weight of the world had been lifted off her shoulders. Before, every problem felt like it was too much to bear. But now, there was a quiet confidence that she could endure, that she could move forward despite the obstacles. The promise of Psalm 91 was becoming more real to her by the day. She realized that peace wasn't about pretending that everything was fine when it wasn't. Peace wasn't about denying the difficulties or pretending they didn't exist. It was about facing those difficulties with a heart that was steady, knowing that she was never alone in the struggle. The peace she was experiencing came from a deeper place than mere optimism. It was a peace that came from a secure trust in God's protection and faithfulness. As Sarah reflected on her journey, she began to see how God had been with her in every moment, even when she didn't recognize it at the time. His hand had been guiding her, protecting her, and covering her, even in the darkest hours. The struggles had been real, but God's presence had been even more real. His promises had never failed, and with each passing day, she was growing in her trust. She thought about how easy it would be to slip back into the old patterns of fear and anxiety. She had spent so much of her life trying to control everything, trying to fix every problem on her own. But now she was learning that it wasn't about control, it was about surrender. It wasn't about having all the answers, it was about trusting in the one who held the answers. With each step she took in faith, Sarah felt the weight of her burdens grow lighter. She wasn't carrying the same load anymore. She wasn't walking alone. She was learning to let go of the need to know all the answers, and instead, she was learning to trust the one who held the future in his hands. But it wasn't just about what was happening within her, it was also about how this peace was affecting the people around her. She began to notice that others were drawn to her calm. Her family and friends who had seen her struggle in the past began to ask her what had changed. They could see something different in her. She wasn't reacting to life in the same way anymore. She was handling stress with grace, responding to challenges with a quiet strength. And it wasn't that she had become perfect or that she no longer faced difficulties, but the way she was handling those difficulties was changing. She was no longer looking for ways to escape the pain she was learning to face. It with a heart that was anchored in God's presence. That's what made all the difference. Psalm 91 had become more than just a verse she recited. It had become her way of life. She had taken it to heart, and it was transforming the way she thought, the way she acted, and the way she saw the world. She was walking in a shelter that wasn't just about protection from harm. It was a shelter that gave her the ability to thrive, to grow, and to face life with peace, no matter what came her way. In those moments of quiet reflection, Sarah couldn't help but feel a deep gratitude for the journey she had been on. She had come so far, and yet there was still so much more to discover. The shelter of Psalm 91 wasn't a one-time experience, it was something that she would continue to lean into, day after day. If you're struggling right now, I want you to know that this same peace is available to you. You don't have to go through life feeling overwhelmed and alone. The shelter that Sarah found is the same shelter that's available to you. You don't have to carry the weight of fear on your own. There is a refuge waiting for you, and all you need to do is trust. As we continue this journey together, we'll explore how to live in that peace every single day. You don't have to wait for everything to be perfect. You can start right now by choosing to trust, by choosing to believe in the promises of Psalm 91. Let's take that next step together. Stay with us as we continue to uncover how you can live in the protection and peace of God. Sarah could feel a deep stirring in her soul as the peace she had been seeking grew even stronger. Each day, the promises she had found in Psalm 91 became more than just words on a page. They began to transform into the very foundation of her life. No longer was she tossed about by fear or doubt. Her heart, once filled with anxiety, was now steady and calm. She couldn't ignore how much this change was affecting her relationships. The people around her were starting to notice a difference. Her friends, family, and even her co-workers began to ask what had happened. They saw the peace that surrounded her. It wasn't just a peace that came when things were easy, it was a peace that was present even in the midst of trials. As Sarah reflected on this new reality, she thought back to the dark moments she had walked through. The moments of doubt when she wasn't sure if things would ever change. It seemed impossible then. But now, looking back, she could see how God had been working all along. Even in her darkest moments, He had been there. His promises had been true all along, even when she couldn't see them. The tension in her life that once seemed insurmountable was no longer so daunting. Sure, there were still challenges, difficulties that would come her way, but they no longer had the power to knock her down. Psalm 91 had become more than just a scripture she quoted. It had become her armor. The shelter of the Most High was now a reality she lived in daily. Sarah began to understand something that she hadn't fully grasped before. It wasn't about escaping the storms of life. It was about learning how to stand firm in the midst of them. It was about trusting that, no matter how fierce the storm, she was protected. She was safe in the arms of a God who was greater than any fear or challenge she could face. In the past, Sarah's instinct was to run away from the struggles. She thought that peace meant avoiding trouble altogether, but now she knew better. Peace wasn't the absence of difficulty. It was the assurance that God was with her in every moment, that His shelter was covering her. No matter what came her way, she was safe. She had found a refuge, a place of safety. And it wasn't a physical place, it was a spiritual truth that had taken root in her heart. She knew that she didn't have to rely on her own strength anymore. The weight of the world didn't have to rest on her shoulders. As Psalm 91 promised, she was covered under the wings of the Almighty. No matter what life threw at her, she knew she wasn't facing it alone. The protection she had always longed for wasn't just something that would come later, it was something she could walk in today. As Sarah continued to grow in this peace, she began to realize how much she wanted others to experience the same thing. She had spent so much of her life searching for peace in all the wrong places, trying to control everything, trying to fix every problem on her own. But now, she had discovered the secret. Peace was found in trusting God, in resting in His protection, in knowing that He was bigger than any problem she could face. She wanted the same for the people around her. She wanted them to know that no matter what they were facing, they didn't have to do it alone. The shelter that she had found in Psalm 91 was available to them too. It wasn't something reserved for a select few. It was available for everyone who was willing to trust. So, as she moved forward in her life, Sarah made a decision. She would continue to stand firm in the promises of God. She would continue to live in the peace that He had given her. And she would continue to share that peace with others, inviting them to find the same refuge that she had found. There's something powerful about living in the shelter of the Most High. It changes everything, and it can change your life too, if you're ready to step into that peace, to experience the refuge that comes from trusting God. Take a moment to reflect on the promises of Psalm 91. Remember that you, Dan T, have to carry the weight of fear alone. God is with you and His protection is real. Let's continue this journey together. If you're ready to step into that place of peace, to trust in the promises of God, let's take that next step today. You're not alone, and you don't have to face life's challenges in your own strength. God is with you, and He will cover you with His wings, no matter what comes your way. Have you ever felt like you were walking through a storm with no end in sight? That was my life not too long ago. I'm Sarah, and my days were once filled with anxiety and shadows from the past. Every morning felt like waking up to a battle, and every night was haunted by restless thoughts. I was searching for an anchor, something solid to hold on to in the middle of all the chaos. I tried everything I could think of to find peace: self-help books, meditation, new hobbies, but nothing seemed to reach the deep-seated turmoil inside me. I felt lost, like a ship adrift without a compass, desperately seeking a safe harbor. One evening, at my absolute lowest, I stumbled upon a passage in the Bible. It was Psalm 91. As I read the words, something shifted within me. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. These words weren't just poetry. They felt like a personal promise, a direct invitation, a refuge, a fortress. That was exactly what my soul was crying out for. For the first time in a long time, a tiny spark of hope ignited in my heart. From that night on, Psalm 91 became my daily declaration. When fear would try to creep in, I'd repeat, He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. When I felt weak and vulnerable, I would remind myself, you will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day. It wasn't an overnight miracle, but with each passing day, I felt a change. The constant weight of anxiety started to lift. The shadows of the past began to lose their power. It was like I was learning to walk again, but this time I wasn't walking alone. I was walking under the protection of something so much greater than myself. This journey taught me that faith isn't about having a life free from problems. The storms still come, But now, I have a shelter, I have a fortress. My peace doesn't come from my circumstances, it comes from knowing who my protector is. The transformation has been so profound that I felt I couldn't keep it to myself. My struggles had a purpose, to lead me to this place of unshakable peace and to be able to share that hope with you. If you're feeling lost in your own storm right now, I want you to know you're not alone. There is a refuge available to you, a place of safety and strength. Maybe your first step is simply to whisper the words of that song, to open your heart to the possibility of a peace that surpasses all understanding. Your journey of transformation can start today. It's a path of discovering that you are protected, you are loved, and you are never, ever alone. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more content on finding faith and strength in everyday life. See you in the next video.